I want to get straight into the Heisman conversation, specifically for you as a Heisman winner, as a Heisman voter. What are the most important traits that you look for when you're deciding on who you want to vote for?
Well, I think what's most important, there's so many things that you look at, but what's most important is how do you do in big-time moments against big-time teams? And also, how do you do when your team isn't doing well, when your back's against the wall? Are you able to lead your team? Are you able to turn the tide? Are you able to have those Heisman moments that win your team games? Because, listen, there's a lot of guys you could look at that put up amazing stats that will win a lot of games against inferior competition. But how do you do against the best? And how do you do when the other team is playing their best? Are you able to rise to that occasion? Are you able to have that Heisman moment and dominate against the best competition?
So when you talk about those big moments, I think we're looking at Tua Tagovailoa, that it may be absent of one less than one Kyler Murray. So how do you see that playing into the voters' minds, including yourself?
Well, I think for the most part, for the first 3 quarters of the season, I think it was Tua's Heisman. I think at the end, Kyler really made a move to it, and I think people started to look at his stats for the year and say, wow, they really compare to Baker's, and they probably even exceed Baker's from last year, and he won the Heisman last year. I think that helps Kyler. But then you also look at the defenses that Tua played. There were several more that were in the top 40, and Kyler didn't play one in the top 25, so I think you give the edge there a little bit to Tua. But listen, on any year, both of these guys are deserving of winning. The unfortunate thing is they're going up against each other.
We're hanging out with Tim Tebow, obviously, on the College Football Holiday Special presented by Nissan. So, Tim, around 10% of the Heisman voters submitted their ballot before the championship game. That's been a big story. Did anything happen on Saturday specifically that would have changed the way you approached your vote?
I think it impacted absolutely, because you got to evaluate. In championship games, they mean more than anything else. So yeah, while you can look at their big games in the regular season against LSU for Tua and against Texas for Kyler, you have to look at the championship games because they just mean more. It's a championship game for a reason. And so for the voters that voted early, it's just truly and sincerely, I'm very disappointed in them. And for anything, even if you know who you're voting for, just wait. Just wait and see how they finish. Do they finish strong? Do they finish with a bang? Because it's just ridiculous to vote early. What, you can't make the time?
I wholeheartedly agree. You got to be able to assess every piece of data in front of you. And if you're voting early, you're restricting yourself of that liberty. Now,
and you know what, guys? Another thing to add to that is when I was voting on Sunday, when I almost clicked the button to vote, I had to hesitate because it was so close. I had to go back. I watched more film, and then I came back and voted later in the day because it was that close for me. And that's how seriously I take this, because this award, it changes your life. For the rest of your life, you will be introduced as a Heisman Trophy winner. So to just vote early or to nonchalantly go about it, I think it's ridiculous. And I think we need to take this more serious. And the voters that vote early, and if they kind of vote crazy, I think the Heisman should get rid of their vote.
No, you're absolutely right. There's a level of sincerity that you have to have in casting that ballot. Now, I kind of want to open this up a little bit because as much as we've talked about this being a two-man race, there are 3 candidates that are in New York City for this. And I think each of them have sort of changed the dynamic of their offense in a different way, right? Like Oklahoma was already at a superior level. Kyler Murray takes it up another level. Tua Tagovailoa is in a special case because of how we always thought Bama was just down a quarterback, and he goes in and changes the entire dynamic of the team, essentially. And then you got Dwayne Haskins, who has essentially the best quarterback season since Drew Brees was playing in the Big Ten. So how do each of those dynamics play into voters sort of assessing these quarterbacks when it comes to Heisman voting?
Well, I think all of it played, but the guy we haven't talked about so far is Dwayne Haskins, and what an incredible season he has. I think a lot of the people kind of wrote him off after the Purdue game, but you look at the way he finished against Northwestern and against Michigan, who was the #1 defense, supposedly, when they faced him in the last game of the regular season, and he torched them and put up touchdown after touchdown after touchdown, and I think that really opened up a lot of people's eyes, and if it didn't theirs, it opened up my eyes, because you look at him and say, okay, if that's really the best defense in the country, he just torched them and put on one of the best games we've seen this entire season, then did it again in the conference championship game, threw for 499 yards, 5 touchdowns, 82% completion percentage. That's ridiculous. I think no one was hotter at the end of the season than Dwayne Haskins.
All right, Tim, we'll leave you with something fun. In the spirit of college football awards, if there were the Tim Tebow Awards, what award would you give me and Treavor?
Oh my goodness! What award would I give you guys?
Yeah.
I would definitely. I'll give you the Spirit Award for just. You feel like you're in the mood. You're festive. You're ready to go. You're excited. I like that about you guys.
Take that.
Man, Tim, we appreciate it. Thanks so much for your insight. Appreciate you joining us, brother.
Absolutely. Thanks, guys.
Be well.